Continue with the series of lectures by Shaykh Muhammad Ali Shomali on globe before and after the advent of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam. Dr. Shomali is a graduate of the Islamic Seminary of Qum and has a doctorate in philosophy from the University of Manchester. Salawat.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina wa nabiyyina Abil Qasim al-Mustafa Muhammad. Wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. La siyama baqiyatullahi fil aradin. Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-sharif wa ja'alana min a'wanihi wa ansarihi wa shi'atihi inshallah. Yesterday we talked about the situation before and after the advent of Imam Mahdi in respect to understanding, in respect to level of reflection and thought that people would have. And you notice that when the Imam comes, there would be a very sudden change in the level of understanding for all people, not only for a limited group of people. But before the advent of Imam, we said that there are people, a select group of people who would be very deep in their understanding, and relatively speaking, they are better than mu'mineen in any other age. Tonight we want to talk, inshallah, about the progress in science and technology. And this is also a very important part of the discussion about the globe before and after the advent of Imam Mahdi. There is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and this is in Bihar al-Anwar. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, Al-ilmu sab'atun wa ishruna harfan. Knowledge is 27 harf. Harf literally means letter. But here, Imam may refer to 27 types of knowledge, or maybe Imam is trying to refer to the percentage of knowledge as a matter of comparison. That if you consider that knowledge has 27 parts, then فَجَمِيعُ مَا جَاءَتْ بِهِ الرُّسُلُ حَرْفًا. All the knowledge which has been brought by the prophets, by the apostles of God, only comprise 2 out of 27. Okay? 2 out of 27. فَلَمْ يَعْرِفِ النَّاسِ حَتَّى الْيَوْمِ غَيْرَ الْحَرْفَيْنِ. Up to now, people have not learned except 2 out of 27, which makes, I think, less than 10%. فَإِذَا قَامَ قَائِمُنَا أَجَّلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فَرَجَهُ الشَّرِيفِ أَخْرَجَ الْخَمْسَةَ وَالْعِشْرِينَ حَرْفًا. When Imam Zaman comes, he will introduce 25 more parts of the knowledge. فَبَثَّهَا فِي النَّاسِ. Imam spread this knowledge among the people, among the humanity. فِي النَّاسِ, among all people. وَذَمَّ إِلَيْهَا الْحَرْفَيْنِ. And Imam adds this to those 2 parts of knowledge which were given by previous prophets, and maybe some of them are lost, some of them are distorted, misunderstood. But Imam brings those also back. حَتَّى يَبُسَّهَا 27 حَرْفًا. so that those 27 become complete. So this means that in the time of the Imam Zaman, the knowledge would reach its peak. And this is not difficult for us to understand. Maybe in the past was difficult, but for us now it's easy to understand how possible it is to have prompt and rapid progress in knowledge. Just imagine the whole scientific knowledge that humanity had from the beginning of creation of man up to 50 years ago. Compare all that knowledge to the knowledge that we have had in the last 50 years. I think is much less. The progress in science and technology is much more. Even some people say after 60s, you can compare the level of science to all the history of mankind before 1960s. So you should never think that, we have reached a level that it would not be possible to think that we can reach more. No, indeed, today the amount of questions that we have is much more, because the more you know, the more questions arise. Here I am not sure whether knowledge means any type of knowledge, including also, for example, chemistry, physics, biology, or knowledge here means a knowledge which is needed for human perfection. Because in Islamic literature, sometimes knowledge is used in a special sense, and sometimes it's used in broader sense. Sometimes we say ilm, and we mean any kind of knowledge. For example, when the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Utlubul ilm walau bis-sin," seek knowledge even if it requires you to travel to China. So, I don't think the Prophet meant acquiring Islamic knowledge, because at that time, China did nothing, about development of Islamic science or even religious science. It was not that much developed. So here knowledge means any kind of knowledge. But there are cases in which knowledge is used in a specific sense. For example, once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam saw that people have gathered around one person and asking him question, and he is giving answer. Everyone is, amazed. So the Prophet said, who is this man? They said, he is the person who knows genealogy of all people. So if you ask him about your forefathers, he would tell you. And then the Prophet said, Al-ilmu salasa. Knowledge, in its specific sense, is one of three. Ayatun muhkama, أو سنة قائمة أو فريزة عادلة وما أداهن فضل. The Prophet said knowledge is one of three. Either ayatun muhkama, which is normally interpreted as beliefs, knowing what you should believe in, and sunnatun qaima, knowing your morals, and farizatun adila, knowing your duties and responsibilities. Whatever other than these three is fazl, means is a privilege. It's good that you know this. But you should never sacrifice acquiring those three knowledge for learning something which is not helping you in your perfection. For example, it's very good that I know genealogy of all people. But if I don't know this, I will not be questioned in my grave, why you didn't know this. But every single person would be questioned about certain types of knowledge. So, here when Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says Imam Zaman would introduce 25 remaining parts of ilm, I don't know whether Imam Sadiq alayhi salam is referring to all kinds of knowledge or to the knowledge which is needed for human perfection. But in both cases, it shows that there would be a very extraordinary expansion of knowledge and understanding. Another thing which shows the improvement and indeed a big change in communication, telecommunication, is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. This is in Rawzatul Kafi by Kulaini. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, when the 12th Imam comes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our Shia able in hearing to Imam Zaman and looking at Imam Zaman while Imam Zaman is in his own place and they are in other parts of the world, without having any person as a postman in between. This is very important. Maddallahu azza wa jalla shi'atana fi asma'ihim wa absarihim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen for our Shia their hearing and their vision. Hatta la yakun baynahum wa baynal qa'im barid. There would be no postman, nothing as a post, nothing as a medium of communication between them and Imam Zaman. فَيَسْمَعُونَ وَيَنْظُرُونَ إِلَيْهِ وَهُوَ فِي مَكَانِهِ. The Shia would be able to hear words of Imam Zaman and look at Imam Zaman while Imam Zaman is in his own place. For us now it's much easier to understand now that we see this, progress in telecommunication. But, imagine this 14 centuries ago. That people had no idea of, this technology, and even, many people were not even able to read and write letters. The most they could do is to give a message to someone and ask that person, to run or walk or ride to another part. This was the most they could do. But talking about a time that the Shia would be able to listen to Imam Zaman and look at Imam Zaman without having any medium. This is very important. Again, I don't know, this refers to what we see today or maybe even something more. Maybe still there are many things coming, especially because this is being mentioned as a special relation between the Shia and Imam Zaman. So maybe in future you can have more private telecommunication than now. Today, if you have access to someone, then there are people who can, somehow get into your communication and, know what is happening. But maybe in future there would be more secure ways of communication. A similar point, somehow similar point, is mentioned in another hadith, again from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. إن المؤمن في زمان القائم أجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف وهو بالمشرق لا يراه أخاه الذي في المغرب وكذا الذي في المغرب يرى أخاه الذي بالمشرق. A mu'min who lives in the east sees his brother in the west, and a mu'min who is in the west sees his brother in the east. In the time of Imam Zaman. So, again the same thing. maybe this is a general way of communication, or maybe would be even something special that a mu'min can have with another mu'min without any person being able to interfere. Imam Ali alayhi salam in Nahjul Balagha in Sermon 150 talks about future, and many people think that Imam Ali is talking about the time of Imam Zaman, because he's talking about the future, and the description that he gives is compatible with Akhir Zaman. This is in Nahjul Balagha, you can all see, Imam Ali is talking about that time, says, تُجْلَى بِالتَّنْزِيلِ أَبْصَارُهُمْ. In that time, in Akhir Zaman, the eyes of people would be enlightened by Quran. وَيُرْمَى بِالتَّفْسِيرِ فِي مَسَامِعِهِمْ. And interpretation of the Quran will be thrown into their ears. Does it refer to MP3 player? Something more? I don't know. At least this shows that something that was not, imaginable for the people at that time. That people in every part of the world, the interpretation of the Quran would be thrown into their ears. وَيُبْغُونَ كأس الحكمة ويبغون كأس الحكمة بعد الصبوح. And Imam Ali says that in Akhir Zaman, people would be given cup of hikmah, cup of wisdom. Wisdom like a drink would be given to the people in the morning and in the evening. This is a universal distribution of wisdom, that every person in Akhir Zaman would have access to interpretation of the Quran and to wisdom. Even women who may not be that much in the public, or that maybe in previous, centuries, they were not able to learn, attend classes and courses, they had some limited access. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says that in the time of Imam Zaman, you will be given wisdom so generously. I'm saying generously. It means very comprehensively. حتى أن المرأة لتغزي في بيتها بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله. To the extent that a woman can sit in her house and judge according to the Quran and Sunnah. So even women can learn so much, and they can become mujtahid, and they can become judge. So this is very important. And Alhamdulillah, we see this is happening, that now, Alhamdulillah, with the spread of knowledge, with these books, with these CDs, with this internet access, we see that this is happening. Today, it's not difficult to accept this. It's very much easy for us. We are seeing by our eyes and hear by our ears. But in the past, it was very difficult for the people to believe this. But now, Alhamdulillah, we see sometimes a person in the South America or in some island, you see, he has the same knowledge and the same access that you have here, or some person has in Iran or Iraq or whatsoever. The same fact is mentioned by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is in Kamaluddin by Shaykh Saduq, when the Prophet, there are certain hadiths in which the Prophet referred to all 12 Imams. This is one of them. The Prophet refers to the 9th Imam after Imam Hussein, who is Imam Zaman. الذي يملأ الله عز وجل به الأرض نورا بعد ظلمتها. The Prophet says the 9th after Hussein would be the one with whom, so he's an instrument, with whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fills the earth with light after darkness, with justice after oppression, and with knowledge after ignorance. So Imam Zaman not only fills the earth with justice, he fills the earth with also knowledge. So everyone would have access to knowledge. There would be no restriction. And this knowledge help in stopping crimes. This is also very important in combating crimes. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says one reason that Imam Mahdi was called or is called Mahdi. Mahdi means guided. Okay? Mahdi means guided. One reason is that لأنه يهدى إلى أمر خفي. Because whatever is hidden and secret, this would be known to Imam Zaman. Imam Zaman will be guided to whatever is hidden. Okay? So he knows everything. And then Imam Baqir says, حتى أن يبعث إلى رجل لا يعلم الناس له ذنب فيقتله. To the extent that Imam Zaman sends a murderer or a criminal who is staying in his house, and no one knows that he is a criminal. But Imam Zaman says, go and bring that criminal for punishment. So nothing would be hidden from Imam Zaman. And this is very interesting. حتى أن أحدهم يتكلم في بيته فيخاف أن يشهد عليه الجدار. To the extent that even people when in their houses speak, they are afraid that if they say something wrong or they do something wrong, even the wall may bear witness against them. So, no crime can be hidden in Akhir al-Zaman. This means through miracle, or maybe no. Maybe this means through the progress in technology. And we see that this is happening now, today, you don't have any privacy left. But unfortunately, mostly for innocent people, not for criminals. Innocent people are more, subject to this. But in Akhir al-Zaman would be in the other way. In a hadith, another hadith, Imam Baqir alayhi salam talks about a special means of transportation for Imam Zaman. Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, this is something which is kept for your sahib, means for the 12th Imam. And it's called sa'b. Sa'b literally means hard, difficult. This person, or strong, this person asks, what is sa'b? Imam said, of course, it's very difficult, to explain something which is very developed to the people who have no idea. Imagine you are asked to explain, for example, what does computer mean to a person who lived 14 centuries ago. How can you explain that? You cannot explain. So, Imam said, ما كان من سحاب فيه رعد وصائقة أو برق. Something like cloud but with thunder and electricity. I'm saying electricity means, like when there is thunder, ra'd barq, lightning. Exactly. Thunder and lightning. فَصَاحِبُكُمْ يَرْكَبُهُ. Your imam will ride it, will move on it. أَمَا إِنَّهُ سَيَرْكَبُ السَّحَابِ وَيَرْغَى فِي الْأَسْبَابِ. Your imam would ride on clouds. This is also a development in the way of transportation. Another thing which is also interesting, and maybe some people say this refers to these, satellite discoveries about the earth, or maybe something more, still, we have to wait. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says that when your Imam Mahdi comes, he would have knowledge about whatever is hidden in the earth, whether it is inside a mount, very high mount, or deep in a valley, or inside the earth. Nothing of the treasures of the earth would be hidden to Imam Zaman. So he doesn't need to dig, every inches of the earth to find out what is there. And you see this is happening. And another thing, this is again from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. إن قائمنا إذا قام أشرقت الأرض بنور ربها واستغنى العباد من ضوء الشمس. When our Qa'im comes, the earth would be shining and people would not be in need of light of sun. Does it refer to nuclear energy for lighting of the earth? So without even sun you can have light? Does it refer to something more? But this would come, or maybe has already come, that there would be no need. Because in the past, people, if they wanted to have light, it was just sun. They could have some candles, a small light, but that is not something that make the whole earth lighting. But in time of Imam Zaman, the earth itself would be the source for lighting. Okay? So, these are some examples of the progress in science and technology and access to knowledge and also in communication, which happened in the time of Imam Zaman. And this must be added to what we said last night about the progress in the level of understanding and intelligence of the people. Inshallah, in the coming nights, we will talk about other aspects of the globe before and after the advent of Imam Zaman, in particular about the cultural and moral situation before and after. I think I stop here if there are questions.
Should I have question and answers? If you go to the ladies. And the gents side.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Thank you for your lecture. My question is just that you mentioned about communications, and you said the hadith which said that we will be able to see the Imam as well as hear him without him actually being with us.
Yeah.
What I understood was that you were inferring from that it was purely technology nowadays. In your first lecture, you mentioned that, and you also said that was for the Shia. In your first lecture, you mentioned that those who have ma'rifah, or was it Friday? Those who have ma'rifah would be able to, travel distances without being limited to their body. So is that also a way they can sort of go to the Imam that way, and their body will be,
But the hadith says وَهُوَ فِي مَكَانِ, means there is no journey. For example, Imam is in Mecca, we are in London. Without any journey, we can listen to Imam and we can watch Imam. This is different from making a journey there and seeing Imam. I said, maybe this is something like, watching Imam via satellite, transmission, or maybe something special, because maybe there would be something more coming, we don't know. We must not limit hadith to what is available today. Maybe in tomorrow something even more is coming.
Any questions from the ladies?
Okay, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for your talk. Just wanted to say that is all well said and believed that Imam Zaman coming and he will come, no doubt. What are our duty at the moment to do in order to establish Islam? Knowing this and knowing that would not help the state of the Muslim. And obviously we have to get our action right. What your views on that?
Yeah, inshallah, when we finish this review of the situations, especially when we talk about the moral and cultural situation in Akhir al-Zaman, there would be lots of practical implications and lots of things that we can draw from this. What should be the situation in Akhir al-Zaman? How can we prevent some of the bad things, at least for ourselves? And also, how can we prepare? And inshallah, if the time permits, in the end, inshallah, I will talk about our duties and responsibilities towards Imam Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajah Sharif. My discussion in this Muharram is not about Imam Zaman. If I wanted to talk about Imam Zaman, I would have had, at least 30 lectures to talk about Imam Zaman. I am very much focused in my discussion. I am just talking about what is happening before and after of the advent of Imam Zaman in respect to culture, morality, intellectual aspect, and technological and scientific. This is a very focused part of a larger discussion about Imam Zaman. If you want to talk about Imam Zaman, there's much more to be, said. But inshallah, if the time permits, I hope, and my plan is that in the last maybe 1-2 sessions, when we reach the peak of, inshallah, our majalis, I will talk about the devotion that we must have, inshallah, towards Imam Zaman.
Any from the gents side?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
You mentioned about using technology. In order to fight his enemies, will the Imam also use weapons, and will these be what we currently see as excessively destructive?
Yeah, that is another issue. One of the things that must be discussed about Imam Zaman is the way that Imam Zaman alayhi salam behaves, the way that he rules his government, the way that he deals with his enemies, the way he deals with the criminals, the way he organizes, every aspect of human life. These are different aspects of the discussion about Imam Zaman. This is not my topic. But what we can have, what we can understand from hadith is that there would be some war. There would be some usage of weapon in Akhir Zaman. But we shouldn't magnify this. We shouldn't exaggerate in this. We shouldn't think that everything will be solved by using of weapons. It seems that, at least I hope this discussion, can show that many things will be sorted out without need of resort to weapons. But in the end, there are people who don't tolerate Imam Zaman, and these people, would use any weapon to defeat Imam Zaman, and Imam Zaman need to defend. But as you see, there would be a change in humanity, in their understanding, in their preparation, in their thirst for a good, way of life, that many people would peacefully listen to Imam Zaman, inshallah. But there would be certainly some wars.
Any questions from the ladies?
Okay, sorry, if all your talks going to cover Dajjal as well?
No.
Do you think it's not relevant?
It's not in my this is in the topic that I have for this Muharram. But maybe if sometime in barakats maybe I refer to Dajjal, but this is again something which is not included. Because as I said, I am not talking about the whole issue of Imam Zaman. This is a very focused discussion, and normally you don't find such a details about this. Because when you want to talk about all aspects of Imam Zaman, so when it comes to this, maybe just in few pages, this is finished in the books. But we have worked, 2-3 years with some brother, on this, so that we have collected this information, one hadith here, one hadith there, then classifying them, reflecting on them. So if I want to go to other, areas, then this will not be, finished and fulfilled. But inshallah, if there is time, maybe in barakats I refer to this issue that you mentioned.
Any questions from the gents side?
Alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
You mentioned that these different hadiths which talks about the development of the science and technology.
Yeah.
And the hadiths were related in the time when it was very difficult to understand. And even now you say that, for example, in communications we see this progress with satellites and TV and all these things. And it's easier for us to understand. And it would have been very difficult for the people in that time to understand this. Is there any way or any work which has been done which says that how the people were understanding this ahadiths in the earlier times when this development was not there? I mean, even for us, you say that we are not sure whether this is for us or there is something more to it. So how the people in the earlier times were understanding, interpreting it. And the other thing is that in the process, have certain ahadiths been ignored or eliminated in the process, that people would not believe in it, not understand the value of it, and not record it, so that it hasn't come to us? Is there anything of that sort?
Could you repeat the second part?
The second part is that the people who were recording the ahadith and transmitting it further down, they would not understand what is being said and would not recognize the value of what was being said. In the process, they would not record it.
Yes,
and then the message would not reach to us. Is there anything that this sort of thing could have happened or has happened?
Yeah. If you want to understand what people understood 1,000 years ago when they listened to this, I think the best judge is to look at the technology that they had. Because every group of people, according to what is available to them, with some extra imagination, they can reach to some kind of idea. For example, the scientific fictions that Jules Verne had could not be possible for someone who existed 500 years before Jules Verne, because nothing, to that, level was available to them, so that they can add something more, some more imagination from themselves. So, the people in that time, they just understood the literal meaning. That, okay, Imam Zaman would be in another part of the world, and Shia in other part, and they can see Imam and they can listen to him. They couldn't have anything similar to that makes it more understandable to them. They just understood this. Okay? But we can understand more, but maybe still there are something that we cannot understand because it's beyond our experience, beyond the possible, available technology today. Maybe something is coming. As I said to you, that maybe when Imam Zaman comes, there would be private channels of communication between Mu'mineen and Imam Zaman that other people would not have this. It's not something by using some machines or some, equipments. Maybe it still is to be learned. But at least we have something that helps us to understand. People in 100 years ago, when, there were these wireless technology, so they thought, okay, maybe there is wireless, transmission. But now, we understand something more, because we have, been able to go beyond wireless technology. We know, something more. So every group of people, according to what is available to the time, they guess, they imagine something, but maybe still more is coming. The second question you said, this was in respect to the hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet said that people should transfer knowledge of hadith to the other people, because there are people who carry knowledge, okay, but they themselves don't understand. Or they understand, but they can transfer it to someone who understands better. رُبَّ حَامِلُ فِقْهٍ غَيْرَ فَقِيهٍ رُبَّ حَامِلُ فِقْهٍ إِلَى مَنْ هُوَ أَفْقَهُ مِنْهُ. So, sometimes a person knows a hadith, okay? He doesn't understand, but he brings this hadith to someone who understands. Or he understands something, but brings it to someone who understands more. So the Prophet wanted to encourage people to transmit the hadith that they heard from him to the people who were absent in that time or down to the centuries. This is why from the beginning we have always, the Shia always have been emphasizing on the necessity of writing down the hadith and transmitting to the other people. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One of the interesting and indeed thought-provoking thing about the event of Karbala is that not only Imam Hussein alayhi salam and Ahlul Bayt acted in the way that there is no way to criticize, there is no way to say this was a weak point, this was something that if they hadn't done was better. Even all those few people who were left and who remained loyal to Imam Zaman acted in a proper way. I personally don't know any case that we can say, okay, this companion of Imam Hussein here did a mistake. Here he said something that he should not have said. he did something that he should not have done. Or here he was not brave enough. This was a weak point about him. They all were behaving in the way that even now after centuries we can be proud of every single of them. An outstanding case is Muslim ibn Aqil, a person who was very much trusted by Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And you know that when Imam Hussein wanted to send him to Kufa, wrote to the people of Kufa that this is the person that I have full trust in him. Saqati. This is trusted by me. You know the story of Muslim ibn Aqil and how the people first welcomed him and then left him alone. I just mentioned something about the very last part of his life. When he was left alone and he was going from this street to the other street of Kufa, this lane to the other lane of Kufa to find a place. Then he reached a house, and that was the house which belonged to a lady. Her name was Duaa. And she was waiting for her son, who was called Bilal. So Muslim ibn Aqil said salam to this woman, and this woman replied. Then Muslim said, Ya amatallah, esqini ma'an. O servant of Allah, please give me water. So this lady went inside the house and brought water, and then when she came back, Muslim was sitting and gave water to the Muslim, and still Muslim was sitting. She said, Ya Abdullah, alam tashrab? O servant of Allah, didn't you drink? Muslim said, yes. So she said, please go to your own family. Go to your own house. So Muslim didn't say anything. Again she repeated. Muslim didn't say anything. Then she said, Subhanallah, Ya Abdullah, famur ila ahlik afakallah, فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَصْلَحُ لَكَ الْجُلُوسِ عَلَى بَابِي وَلَا أُحِلُّهُ لَكَ. She said, O servant of Allah, go to your own people, to your own family. It's not good you sit here, and I don't allow you. You are not allowed to sit here. Then Muslim, when he heard that she is not happy for him sitting in front of his house, so he stood up. Then she said, Ya Amatallah, O servant of Allah, Mali fi hadha al-Misr manzilun wala ashira. I don't have any family member here. I don't have any house in this city. Can you do some favor for me? And maybe I can pay back. Muslim was not sure about his faith. He didn't want to promise something that he's not sure he can keep. It's very important. You see how careful he was. He says, maybe I can pay you back. Maybe I can reward you back. Then she said, who are you? He said, Ana Muslim ibn Aqil. This was the time he introduced himself. كَذَبَنِي هَؤُلَاءِ الْقَوْمُ وَقَرُّونِ. These people have told lies to me and have cheated, have deceived me. قَالَتْ أَنْتَ Muslim? Are you Muslim? He said, yes. Then she said, so please come in. Then she took Muslim to a room in her house, which was not used by herself and her son. Another room, extra room that they had. and put something for Muslims so that Muslim can sit on that, like some carpet, something, blanket. And then brought some food for Muslim to have as supper. Then her son returned, and her son noticed that his mother is going to that room and coming back, coming, because she was worried, about Muslim, was going to say, if Muslim needs anything. So her son noticed that her mother is going to that room and coming. So insisted on his mother, what is happening in that room? Mother said nothing. Then he insisted, and finally the mother said, you must promise, if I tell you, you don't disclose this to anyone. And he promised. Then he said that this is Muslim ibn Aqil who has come to our house, and I gave him protection. And it is said that this young man was drinking alcohol and, was not a committed person. Because it's not accidental that someone, betrays. If someone betrays such a big thing, so there must be something, weak point in background. So, he didn't do anything, so he said, okay. And then, what happened was that Ibn Ziyad went to the mosque and gave a speech and said, whoever knows the place in which Muslim is there must let us know, and also appointed someone to police the whole city, and said there must be no movement of Muslim ibn Aqil unless you report to me, and you must find where he is hiding. This young man then went next day to the people of Ibn Ziyad and said that he is in our house. And then a group of 30 people, went to catch Muslim ibn Aqil. When they reached the house of this woman, so what they did, they started first fighting against Muslim with swords. But he was so brave and so powerful that fought against them, and all the people who entered inside the house, he pushed them back outside the house. Then they started throwing stones from the roof, from everywhere, and very unfair fight started. And what happened also was that one of them managed to cut the lips of Muslim ibn Aqil. But still, Muslim was so brave that he was fighting and defending himself. Then in the end, maybe deliberately or it was not intentionally anyway, one of them told Muslim that you have protection. Maybe they realized that they cannot, catch him. Or maybe that person was honest, because as I tell you in the future, you will see, what was the case. And Muslim knew that there is no way to win. So he was not deceived. He had no other choice, because he was surrounded from everywhere, and they were not fighting one by one. They had already managed to cut his upper lip and also lower lip. So he knew that there is no chance. But when they said, we give you protection, Muslim said, okay. And that person said, these people are your relatives. They have some relation with you. They will not kill you. They will not deceive you. So Muslim said, Amanu ana, am I safe? He said, yes. And all the people who were there said, you are safe and you are given protection. So, then what happened? They brought a mule so that Muslim sits on the back of that mule. And Muslim, to show that he is not fighting, had put his sword, hanging on his neck as a sign of there is no war. But they said, you must give us your sword. So Muslim ibn Aqil said, this is the beginning of cheating. If you don't want, to do anything wrong to me, why you are taking my sword? So this is the beginning. And then this is very sad part of one of the very sad parts of the story. When he saw that they took away the sword, then Abi Mikhnaf says that he lost the hope that he would be living for a long time. And then فَدَّمَعَتْ عَيْنَاهُ, he started crying and tears came down from his eyes. And said, this is the beginning of your cheating. Then Muslim said, Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We all belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We all return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and cried. A person misunderstood the reason for crying. Said, إن من يطلب مثل الذي تطلب إذا نزل به مثل الذي نزل بك لم يبكي. A person who is after something like what you are after must not cry. Why do you cry? He thought Muslim is, frightened about his life. And Muslim said, إني والله ما لنفسي أبكي ولا لها من القتل أرثا. By Allah, I am not crying for myself. I have no fear of being killed. ولكن أبكي لأهلي المقبلين إلي. I am crying for the people who are coming towards Kufa to join me. أبكي لحسين وآل الحسين. I am crying for Hussein and the family of Hussein. I don't cry for myself. And then told that person who gave him protection, who was called Muhammad ibn Ash'as, he said, "Oh servant of Allah, Ya Abdullah, I believe that you cannot keep your promise." It means that Ibn Ziyad will not listen to you, will not bother, that you have given me protection. But he said, could you do a favor? Could you send a person towards Hussein and give a message on my behalf to Hussein? Because Hussein has left today towards Kufa, or maybe tomorrow he's going to depart towards Kufa. And this is why I am worried. This is why I am crying. So send a person towards Hussein and say that Muslim ibn Aqil has sent a message for you. And Muslim ibn Aqil is now taken as captive. And he would be soon killed. And Muslim ibn Aqil is telling you, take back your family. And do not be deceived by the people of Kufa. فَإِنَّهُمْ أَصْحَابُ أَبِيكَ. These are the people that your father Amirul Mu'minin suffered a lot from them. الَّذِي كَانَ يَتَمَنَّى فِرَاغَهُمْ بِالْمَوْتِ أَوِ الْقَتْلِ. These are the people that Amirul Mu'minin was wishing to die or be killed so that he can get rid of them. Because they were not listening to Imam Ali. إِنَّ أَهْلَ الْكُوفَ قَدْ كَذَبُوكَ وَكَذَبُونِي. They have told lies to you and to me. And then Ibn Ash'as said, by Allah, I will send your message to Imam Hussein. And then, you know what happened afterwards. They took him to the palace of Ibn Ziyad, and he had very straightforward discussion with Ibn Ziyad, and in the end, Ibn Ziyad asked someone to take Muslim ibn Aqil to the roof of the palace and kill Muslim ibn Aqil. But again, in the very end of his life, when he was being taken to the roof, again you see the mentality of this man, the bravery of this man, the power of iman of this man. And he said that Allahumma ahkum baynana wa bayna qawmin qarruna wa kadhabuna wa adhalluna. He didn't complain. He didn't say, please, give me some more chance, No, he didn't beg for any forgiveness or whatsoever. He very bravely defended the cause of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and then just prayed and said, Oh Allah, you be the judge between us and these people who have invited us and then told lies to us, and they have made us lose our honor in this city of Kufa. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala join us with Imam Hussein alayhi salam and all his faithful and loyal companions. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم وبدم الحسين يا الله 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 يا الله. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. O Allah, forgive all our sins and mistakes. O Allah, forgive all our dead marhumin, our parents, foreparents, the people who have right upon us, ulama, shuhada, all the righteous people, the people to whom we owe. O Allah, forgive them and make all of them guests of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. O Allah, heal all ill brothers and sisters. O Allah, reach all the poor people in the world. O Allah, bring peace to all humanity. Bring safety and security to all people who suffer, especially our brothers in Iraq, in Palestine, in Afghanistan, in everywhere. O Allah, make the end of our life the best part of our life. Enable us to meet our Imams and the Prophet when we die and when we are in our graves. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Ya Hussein.
Hussein. Ya Hussein. Ya Hussein.
Ya Hussein,
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 Ya Hussein.
said